And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blizzard Arena. The sun is still shining outside, but in here it's nice and cold. The lights are on, and teams are racing for their spot in that top 12, man.
Yeah, now with the Shanghai Dragons loss, this match becomes pretty important. You have the Valiant going against the Boston Uprising. The Valiant need to continue to win to have a chance at the top 12. Fortunate for them, they have the Boston Uprising, who are incapable of winning lately.
Yeah, it definitely appears to be the case. Boston slumping a little bit, whereas the Valiant had definitely been on an uptick, though. But their success coming from a different direction. Let's have a look at our standings. This is 4th through 15. So definitely the section that teams are trying to make their way into that 12th place. The Valiant just sitting on the outside right now, but with a -1 map differential, an opportunity to go 12 and 14 here today, they can sneak in.
Yeah, and with the Hunters, they have a match against the Houston Outlaws a little bit later today, so the Hunters could potentially fall to, let's say, 12 and 16, gives the Valiant the even better chance to move up in the standings. If the Hunters win, that would be a quite interesting scenario. We're going to go down to the wire for the Valiant.
And of course, we're talking about a team in the Valiant that had a 0-7 start to this season. It was the nightmare beginning for the Valiant, but they clawed their way back, and one big part of that, especially recently, has been Spaceman. He comes back into the roster now, in 2-2-2 lock, after voluntarily giving up his spot to allow the Valiant to have a great stage 3. And on the Diva, he again has continued to be dominant.
And you know Space is incredible at the off-tank, so there's the Roadhog or Diva, but like you mentioned, he takes himself out of the lineup when they want to run some more damage dealer stuff, but it's good to see Space back in. He's made a huge impact, as we know he can. Last year, one of the better Divas we had in the league, and now you get to see him excel on the Roadhog. Him and Fact Fiction made a very good tank line.
Yeah, and of course on the side of the Uprising, RCK auspiciously absent here. And, you know, we have seen that Blase has had to move in and fill that off-tank role. It's not his natural position. We normally know Blase.
He's not pleased about it.
Farah, Doomfist. Yeah, look, he's been pretty vocal about saying, like, I'm struggling a little bit in this role. Some tweets have been deleted, of course, but we have to wonder. RCK obviously not in the mix right now. I figured it might have been something medical related with his eyes. I think
he's been playing more damage dealers lately. I believe for the World Cup team, he's going to go as a damage dealer. So maybe he's trying to change roles, you know, going from an off-tank to a damage dealer. Doesn't want to play the off-tank anymore. You have to throw Blase in there to play some Diva and Roadhog, which
for a bit of a rebrand in the meantime.
Yeah, kind of throws Blase's game off.
Speaking of which, we had a deal. You're supposed to wear the same match with me.
Oh no, I imagine. No,
oh really?
No.
But we had a deal. You
no,
oh,
no.
Okay.
I broke my promise. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Matt Morello, miserly chap that he is. Let's bring out our teams onto the stage and not waste too much more time. Up first, of course, is going to be the Los Angeles Valiants. And yes, I did check my documents to make sure that was right.
You have about 60% walkout rate in terms of selecting the right one, so props you got it today. No real surprises for the Valiant in terms of their lineup. Agility's KSF, Fact Fiction, Space, and then Custa and Karim in the back. So this has been the lineup they've gone with in this stage. You bring in Space, Shax goes to the bench in terms of, like, well, when you go to roll lock, you need to have that off tank in. Space is obviously the answer there.
Valiant need to keep putting these wins together. They're great in stage 3. The whole flip gets script come stage 4, and they, amongst many other teams, have had to adapt. Some of their statistics, not really ideal. I mean, they're 54% of the time they're losing a player first in a lot of these team fights, which is actually one of the worst statistics there. It is still early days yet, even in this stage, as the meta starts to coalesce and tighten up a little bit. But let's bring out their opponents now and make a bit of noise for the Boston Uprising. Dreams of playoff glory shattered. The Uprising now are here to try and play spoiler to a lot of these teams. Keep those heads high heading into our 3rd season next year.
Yes, it has been a rough go for Boston, pretty much from like stage 2 on. They've made a lot of substitutions that have been interesting, right? Persia comes in for Aim God when Aim God was not even playing poorly. I mean, Aim God's pretty solid. Then you bring in Persia, you start losing a ton. Aim God still doesn't come back. Now Stellar in terms of a damage dealer, that moves Blase from a damage dealer now to a tank. RCK completely gone, so just seems like the lineup for Boston's gone a little bit out of whack as of late.
Now Color Hex on this roster is probably one of those players that really has to step up if they want to put a dent in the Los Angeles Valiant here. Stellar's a known quantity. We've seen Color Hex around, but he has to go up against KSF, one of the youngest, brightest prospects on the Valiant roster. We should expect to see these guys kind of go head-to-head on the Widows or the Hanzo.
Yeah.
And we'll see how they stack up here as Hanzo. This is just in stage 4.
And you see KSF stats pretty much better across the board than Color Hex. It's kind of difficult to look at that and be like, oh, well, you know, like KSF clearly better player. But I think right now, with how Boston has struggled, it's kind of difficult to even put up incredible numbers. Like if Color Hex was putting up way better numbers, they probably still have the same results. Like I don't think like, his performance is really the one that's dragging the team down, so to speak. But both players very capable Hanzos. We'll see that matchup in the series. The map set here presented by Toyota. It'll be Busan, Hanamura, Kings Row, and Havana to close things out. So some maps where you can definitely play the Hanzo comp over Reaper.
Yeah, a lot of maps though where you should still expect to see maybe an insta include, and on stage. This may not mean a lot to a lot of people, but there's a big rivalry between Australia and New Zealand, and two representatives from those nations are battling it out on stage. If you watch any rugby or cricket, I know you don't know what that is, Matt, but that is
this is pretty much the only Australia versus New Zealand rivalry you'll have in the Overwatch.
And you best believe I'm milking it for everything that I can.
Yep. So I'm sure all the other Australians out there at whatever time it is in Australia, what is it?
It's very early.
4 a.m.
It's very early.
You really made their morning. Brought that one to light. Stellar will be on the May, Color Hex will be on Reaper. So you'll see KSF play McCree on the other side. So they opt to not bring in the Hanzo, they bring in McCree instead. So McCree obviously, you know, has the adjustments, has better fire rate. You know, the games that we've casted, we haven't really seen McCree put to great use, whereas like compared to like a Hanzo. So see if KSF can get anything done with it.
Color Hex is trying to make himself a little bit scarce early on until they sort of get the damage boost from Kellex. Now they want to go forward, but it's a Valiant wall that prevents their advance. Los Angeles gets some more time, but what are LA trying to do here, Matt? Why are they waiting?
Well, they have the McCree with Custa, you know, flanking all the way around using the speed, trying to make a play, and you're not able to get anything on the backside. And I think what Boston realized is that when you don't have a Reaper on the other side, or even a Hanzo, like a lot of like front damage, you can just push right into the other team. That's why the Maywall had to come down from agilities rather early. Boston was trying to make a push in, and they put the Maywall up and just stopped everything coming through.
The Coalescence doesn't get much done though. There needs to be surreal work done from the damage dealers, and KSF plays an off angle. The wall comes up immediately from Boston to shut down the Deadeye. For a moment, he's got a little bit of time in this position to get some damage done. Looking for the supercharger, but Color Hex chases him now. Sound barrier means that the Reaper can be much more confident trying to push in, and KSF misjudges the flashbang. However, on the point though, Fact Fiction and Custer are getting much more work done over on the high ground there. You can see Persia go for the Coalescence. This is going to force a fade from Kareev to get out of the action. There is a supercharger down. Persia tries to focus that one down for just a moment, but now he gets sucked in by the Hulk. Still okay, providing that healing, but frozen up means he can't do much.
Kellex is able to contest this, so you see him on top of the drum. One of the hardest spots to get players out of is the Valiant able to make a flip. And the way you think of like Boston Uprising's comp, right? It's a little bit like how you thought of 3-3, where there's a lot of sustain, not a lot of like easy targets to burst down. That's why the McCree struggles at times against this, because when we're on with KSF, you see him taking like these like shots from the side, and he's landing them, connecting them, but nobody's going to burst down rather quickly. And then Persia and Moira can provide so much healing that you keep everybody topped up.
Consistent damage is great, and it's something that McCree provides, but consistent healing is enough to nullify it. Self-destruct, somehow, Color Hex gets caught by that one. Space getting rid of the Reaper there with the bomb thrown in, and KSF has all the space that he needs.
And this is where you can excel with the McCree, and even where Hanzo excels, when like Boston's team has to close space and get close to them, as this is what we saw Rascal do to Note last week.
That's a nice moonwalk from Blase.
I'm sure Blase's thrilled to be playing the off-tank role.
And getting frozen up every 3 seconds. It's tough. D.Va is definitely one of the main recipients of the endothermic blaster scrutiny, Matt.
It's like I was saying though, it's way harder for like Boston to close the gap in this amount of space. Like when both teams are kind of fighting in like what you would call like the neutral, like really close to each other, that's where you give Boston's composition like the advantage. But when the McCree can take this space and just put shots on people trying to come in, makes it very difficult to keep moving your Orisa barrier forward, which is obviously the play.
KSF though takes really sort of passive positioning, I think very safe setup. This is going to allow the Boston Uprising to ford the gap and get to the point. That is rude! That's so rude! Stella puts the wall up and KSF gets nothing from his Deadeye. Fact Fiction supercharger is taken down. Blase sends a self-destruct in. Fact Fiction looks like he didn't have the fortify to prevent him from getting frozen. And looks like Kareev's Coalescence wasn't enough to keep the Orisa alive under all that pressure. 91% and counting for the Valiant. They go for the sound barrier here, but they lose agilities, and they're running out a lot of those key pieces. Color Hex will move to the high ground to force down space. And yeah, the Valiant will have to concede for now.
And the Valiant may have been able to make something out of that fight towards the end, but because agility is his ice block, he doesn't get hit by the sound barrier, and he comes out of it still kind of weak. He's not able to use a blizzard, so you end up holding on to that for the next fight. But Kellex does have a sound barrier here for Boston, so you can kite this a little bit, which is going to be dangerous here for the Valiant.
Boston are in a position they want to be. The Valiant must come to them, and the Uprising can take refuge behind many of these pillars. Here comes the push though. They want to get aggressive. KSF going to try and sit in the background with the Dead Eye. Oh, we got Stellar, and the Blizzard got eaten. Yes, not to mention Agility's lost his to Blase, but getting rid of that May is pretty big. Now the fight can continue. Color Hex went straight on in. He actually tried to go for a death loss immediately. He got stunned up. Still gets KSF. Has to return back to the point. Agility's just trying to shut down Color Hex, make it more dangerous for him to try and push past that Orisa barrier. Working off the statue there. Wall goes up. They actually caught fusions off, but they're not looking for the Orisa right now in space. 3 kills from the Diva. We talked about him in the pre-game, and he shows up in a big way. With a mini Diva down, and Blase is not looking good for the Uprising, and the Valiant really punctuate their point in quite an explosive manner. Some stall now from Stellar as he moves up onto the point of Sombra. The rest of the Uprising are too far away. And I think it's safe to say that Space saved the round for the Valiant there.
Oh, without a doubt it is. Boston, you know, when both Blizzards get eaten, Boston kind of has a slight window of an advantage there because they still have the sound barrier. So what they decide to do is once both Blizzards are out of the equation, they sound barrier and they push, and they have that Reaper comp to go behind. And the Reaper, they get the Death Blossom in, they pick up a kill or two. Space, though, answers with a big bomb back, connects with 3, which flips it for the Valiant. We can take a look at this.
May Wall comes up. I mean, oh! The setup from my boy Custer. Fantastic Lucio work there.
Australia winning out in the Australia versus New Zealand battle.
Yeah, you do love to see it. I don't think we're doing well in rugby against the New Zealanders, so take this.
I mean, you could tell us anything, and most of us would believe it because nobody's watching.
That also accounts for about 80% of my vocabulary.
That's also
you don't
very
know
true.
if it's an Australianism or something I just made up.
Most of the people out there don't know either. So we can see it's going to be Widow Farah for the Valiant. The Ana in play here with the Mercy. You need the Ana here because the Mercy is going to be pocketing the Farah most of the time. So you need the Ana to provide all of the healing. It's that Blase gets put to sleep there for a second. Allows Agility to put down a little bit extra damage.
That is a quick
already got the barrage.
Everyone grouped up together for him now. Is going to go for the barrage across the point. It's a little bit longer range, so less effective. And Fusions finds 2. I mean, the Valiant must have been feeling good, right? Agility's just like, yo, I've got a really early barrage. This is looking great. But Boston then choose to push up. They go aggressive out of that corner.
It's a really good speed boost from Kellex to get him out of the way. Fusions puts down a new shield, and then he's going for Color Hex with the barrage as Color Hex is using the teleport. So, like, doesn't connect much of anything. He kind of leaves himself in no man's land, like so far away from the Boston Uprising.
I like that though, Matt. They switch gears. They don't just sit there and wait for themselves eventually to get ground down.
Do you like them staying on the Widow here, though? I think when you huddle up here for Boston, what is the Widow going to provide?
Only the moments when the shields are down is when KSF can actually find these shots. And everyone's getting healed up. Oh, Color Hex has fell, but Agilities gets him. It's time for the sound barrier now. Another barrage from Agilities. That's 2 in 2 fights. He'll get Persia with that one and pressure the shield down enough for the Valiant to push in. On this second attempt, they will be successful in taking control of the point. But I tell you what, tough to crack that nut that was the Boston Uprising. Now they'll switch their comps, Boston.
Well, now you like the Valiant comp with the Widowmaker when you have control of the point.
And getting them, you have a McCree getting played against you as well.
Yeah, getting them on the other side of things would have been difficult as you just kind of had them playing underneath. Because now you get control of the point. They go McCree because nice headshot there from KSF. But
they go set up the fusions kill.
They go McCree because they're so worried about this Farah, and then they think they can get into a little bit more of a closer range fight with the May and some of the sustain that they have. So you feel you don't have to fight the far off Widow battle. You can get to point and fight it there.
It's crazy now with how compositions differ between attack and defense, right? Both teams are essentially attacking and defending at different times here, but you can see how favored this Farah Widow composition is when you control the point. And Boston also felt like they had to switch away from the Reaper when they themselves lost control. So there's a lot to be said for damage being dealt back and forth as one team tries to approach the point. You do essentially have to switch the mindset between attack and defense every time you approach the point.
Another barrage here for Agilities as well. See if he's able to land a big one. Goes around the backside here. So Blase gets taken out before he gets remixed.
Yeah.
So he actually thought about using the barrage there, holds onto it.
But now Agilities has to be that much more careful. Boston still want to play in the corner. This time they had the McCree to make it a little bit riskier for the Farah. Kareem though. Oh, Kareem gets himself 3. It opens up with a bionic grenade and he just goes absolutely ham. Put that one in Doa's bloodthirsty supports. Fusion's now going to get cut down and the Valiant, they're back in control.
They flipped the point there for a second, but let's see this from Kareem's point of view. Is Biotic grenade comes down, still hit by it, just landed the shot.
Sit down. Nicely done. Obviously a little bit of assistance there for Kareem, but I like the Battle Mercy switch and there's none more aggressive than that, man. Again, Agilities in a decent position to get some charge. Color Hexes fell before the Uprising can get to the point. There's no mercy in the game. They're down to 5. Blizzard over the point to create a bit of space here, and Agilities forced to try and get away there. Oh, very timely ice block there from Stella. Yeah, but it may not matter.
I mean, once the McCree dies, what do you have to contest this Farah? You're playing I mean, look, you're playing Blase, who's a damage dealer on the Diva. It's going to be very difficult for him to track a Farah as good as Agilities. His Color Hex will get on the point. You have Kellex coming back here, but it's looking really good for the Valiant.
Kellex tried to boot Kareem there. No dice. Here comes the power driver. In fact, Fiction sits safe and unperturbed behind the shield. KSF trying to find the pick here. He knows there's been a fade forward by them. More of it, but Persia can't get much done. That supercharger doing a lot of work here. It's pretty tough for Boston to try and retake. Color Hex is off to the side there. You can see him on the tracer. He'll go in for a dip his toes in the water, but he's not going to be allowed. Map 1, LA Valiant.
The Valiant really dominated on point 2. Point 1, rather close, goes down to the wire. Could have gone either way, but Space hits a big self-destruct. And that second point, though, is the far up from Agilities that really came up big.
Map 2 is just around the corner of the Valiant. This is a must-win series for them. They're looking to get energy from the crowd here today. We'll be back with Map 2 in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Schutzengel ist da.
Two hometown favorites going toe-to-toe one more time.
The Vancouver Titans, Stage 1 champions.
The Shock have done it, Stage 2 champions.
Make some noise for the current holders of the California Cup. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There's plenty more LA Valiant coming at you for the homestand next week, the kick-out rivalry weekend. Get your tickets still at lavaliant.com. It's August 24th and 25th. So we have to see you there.
Yeah, we had some of the best matches all year going down that weekend.
The big title matches, you know, like the ones we have stories about. That's what we want to see.
Kareem, map number 1. 29 elim, 7 final blows, a 0 into death column.
Yo.
That's a sick game there.
This
from
guy...
Kareem he's been so good since they put him back on.
The kind of guy that doesn't want to play DPS, wants to play support, knows that he can almost do... Well, in all fairness, he had the same amount of final blows as KSF on the Ana, so...
Also a player who's so good at both that can decide what he wants to play.
Yeah.
Like, really
Just make sure his mic's not too loud. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Hanamura, the map number 2. No subs for either team, so we were wondering with Boston, maybe we see the return of Aim God, maybe you see RCK back in terms of flex tank. Neither. So it'll be the Pharah Widow on defense here for the Valiant. They have space now playing the Roadhog. Still with the Ana Mercy. When you ever see the Pharah, you're going to have the Mercy. You need the Ana to be able to heal everybody else.
Boston Uprising here will...
Do they switch off?
I think they will.
Probably the ego.
I mean, the Pharah is just so nasty for them to try and push through.
You could play Dive. You could play Pharah Widow of your own. Yeah, they're going to play Dive.
Genji Sombra. All right.
And the Fusion's probably plays Ball.
Boston Uprising maybe going for a color that's a bit more comfortable on them. They're going to go for something a little more aggressive. The Valiant should be expecting a switch here in agility, so you saw it!
No.
You saw the rocket come down and catch Stella! That's aggressive play. Not to mention Color Hex gets headshot. KSF. Forward defense for the Valiant. A lot of early warning here, Matt.
Well, you're not surprised if you're like Boston to see them playing this aggressive. And if I was the Valiant, I would be playing this aggressive as well. And I would be testing Blase on the D.Va. Like, he is not a D.Va player. Remind you, he is a damage dealer playing D.Va.
Honestly, what I saw of him on Busan, though, looked quite good.
It's been good.
Yeah, I really did not think it was bad at all.
But I think, though, you challenge it. Anytime somebody's kind of playing out of position, you have to try and make it difficult for that player.
All right. Well, those who get motion sick, just hold on to your hats here. Agility's now from the high ground, constantly having to check to see if someone's flanking around. Custer's already down. So Agility's now doesn't have his pocket, becomes a little bit more susceptible here. Not that there's a lot on the Boston Uprising side that can finish him off in midair, but if he were grounded, he'd be in trouble. Fact Fiction now down, things are starting to unravel a little bit here for the Valiant. KSF doesn't really have a healer to attend to him except Kareem. He's got to go down the stairs and don't wake fusions. Let sleeping hamsters lie, perhaps. Stella with a hack on space. That makes life a little bit hard for the Roadhog now. Can't take a breather. Bionic grenade thrown in as well. Nothing really going right for space here. Pressured down by everybody. Somehow we're still staying alive though. And Fact Fiction saves the day. He drops in with a pile driver. Stella's missing. KSF has gone down, but Fact Fiction looks like he just wants to try and defend the point for as long as he can now. Buy some time for reinforcements, and what a blase is going on. 2 kills for the D.Va on Boston, and definitely asserting himself. But that is nasty. The whole hog, the push away, and Color Hex has to limp to safety. He doesn't get there.
And they use the nano on a Blase, and he actually comes up with 2 big pickoffs. But nobody else from Boston there towards the end of that fight able to make anything happen. Kareem again, a nice biotic grenade on a space to keep him up. And then they end up using the whole hog to push players back. Boston now gets back on the point. They want to fight this rather quickly. Yeah,
interesting self-destruct from Blase, thrown towards the spawn direction of the Valiant to try and catch people as they came to reinforce. But there's a lot of ways to break line of sight as you come out of that second point, and the Valiant weren't bothered. They get back to that point. Blase uses his self-destruct there, and maybe it was even a remech, but didn't really have an impact on the Valiant. 1 minute left in the round.
I was going to say, we're already down with just 1 minute to go. You don't have a nano
easy
boost.
Stuff's mine. I read the time. That's easy.
You don't
do the hard stuff.
You don't have a nano boost here to combo with your Dragon Blade. You have the EMP. It's just you can't allow, like, Custa, he can play pretty far back with agilities, right? You can get Valkyrie off, heal everybody up. Kareem can get a nano of his own. They're going to go for the EMP. Custa does get Valkyrie off.
Yeah, both the Pharah and the Mercy do get connected. Color Hex goes in, Agilities is down, despite the Valkyrie being in play. Custa was almost flying into the sun. Fact Fiction could be in trouble. Blase tries to knock him off the map, and Color Hex dashes in, finds the finish, and there wasn't enough time for KSF to hack the Genji. But on the point, Space gets a nano boost here, but that biotic grenade is a little bit more concerning. He's going to try and play safe for the time being, which is frustrating. He wanted to get value out of the damage boost. Now he's hacked though, needs to rely on the healing of Custer. Color Hex gets nano boosted this time, and he doesn't have a blade, he doesn't need it. A little bit more durability goes a long way here. Now wants to pressure Kareem down and without fusions, but Fact Fiction agilities are on the point. Kalahex blocks the last little bit of the barrage and sends agilities packing, but Space is in. What is going on in this fight? Now it's going to be Space and Fact Fiction trying to hold on to the point. It's going to be tank line here. Space does have to take a breather here, needs to use it immediately, trying to pressure down the wrecking ball and get Blase out of the mech, and that's a good start. Now it's going to be Fusions versus Fact Fiction on the point. Minefield is thrown down, going to buy a little bit of space and time for the rest of the Valiant to get back, but not enough of either, perhaps, as the Uprising. They push through and take point A.
And now Boston, they're going to get a remake here on a Blase, and they may try and push. Make a play. Oh, actually, a long-range sleep dart.
It was Sombra.
Kareev actually was running away. Like, he was actually pretty far up there for the Valiant. Just turns, fires off a sleep dart, connects with Stellar, who had EMP, which slow them down a little bit, allow everybody to respawn here for the Valiant.
Stellar started off the last fight with an EMP, has yet another one. He goes straight for Custer. Zenyatta crumbles. Nothing he could do with his shields taken away from him. Kalahex is getting close to another Dragon Blade. Won't be a nano boost for him now as Persia's on the Moira. As they approach the point of agilities with the first pick on Stellar. Looks like the Uprising weren't able to capitalize on that EMP so much, and here come the damage dealers for the Valiant. Blase is felled. Space gonna duck behind that shield of Fact Fiction to stay alive, and Kareev will attend to him due time. 2 minutes left on the clock. Uprising just failing to get a tick on the point.
Yeah, and you see Custa now playing Zen. So really in the Overwatch League, we've just seen Custa as a main support, but in the past.
He was a Zen player.
Yeah, he was a Zen player. So it's not really weird. It's something though that could potentially be pretty useful for the Valiant moving forward, that their main support can also play a flex support. You don't have to like bring somebody in off the bench to come in and play, let's say, a Batiste or a Zenyatta. So they're able to adjust on the fly as Custa getting close to a Transcendence. You already have this nano boost where potentially use it on the space or maybe use it onto agilities on the Doomfist.
Fact Fiction notes Kalahex's presence. Not much to be done about it at this stage. They're trying to maintain the high ground. There's a bit of fighting going on the left side of the point, or the right from that perspective, as Agility's just trying to deal with some of the tanks. He's forced to pull the plug though. Meteor strike back to the point and now safety. Yeah, maybe they baited that out of Boston. Boston now will have play aggressive to try and get some value out of it here, but they just walk into the Valiant and they lose Persia. Almost all of their healing, or at least the great amount of it, has been taken out of the picture. Kalahex now has to try and step up in the meantime, and that Transcendence was waiting for Kalahex to draw the blade. KSF finds another one. There's no healers now for the Uprising, and things are looking dire.
Yeah, they end up using the sound barrier pretty early on, and they get to the point. It's a headshot from KSF on a Persia. And once you lose Blase,
Good night, sweet prince.
I feel for this guy.
Yep. Hold. Yep. D-Matrix.
block,
Sleep again. Mate.
I see his face on the stage. On stage, he's just like, there's literally nothing I can do. This is an incredible stagger, by the way.
You can't do my homie like this!
That is so good there from the Valley.
How long was that stagger doing?
So much time, like 20 seconds.
20
at
seconds.
least.
And he has to respawn. And there's only 15 seconds left. That is one of the longest staggers I think I've ever seen.
No one.
Imagine if you could heal your opponents. You could make that even worse. Agility's going aggressive now. Force the fade out of the Moira. Persia now is a little bit less safe. He misses the rocket punch here. Doesn't matter. Fact Fiction holding the fort down, getting rid of fusions first. That Discord orb from Customat, setting up the kills for Fact Fiction. Defensive self-destruct, back at the point. Space! What a big brain on that guy. Sends it back to the point because he knows the Boston Uprising, they had to step on it. He gave them no choice and they knew it was a lose-lose. Discord orb on fusions will send him packing, and the Uprising gonna have to settle for just point A being captured at this stage. Not much to be done. Stella will sneak on there invisible. Custer wondering why the heck the point, the round hasn't ended yet. Now he knows.
Custer's all smiles on the stage, you see. He's happy to bust the Zen out. He's like, why not?
Give me more Custer Zen.
Yeah. See maybe more Custer Zen in the second half, but it's a good hold for the Valiant there on point B. Sets a pretty easy win condition. Take point A, take a tick on point B, go into halftime up 2-0.
Playoffs are looming. The Valiant want their spot. So far, so good. A little bit more work to be done now as we head to the second half. Hanamura.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Apagando las luces. Rains from above. Cease your resistance. Nerf this.
Hanamura now for the Valiant. Looks like it might be smooth sailing. They just need to really capture point A and get a decent finish on point B. Kareem and Customer, support duo here for the LA Valiant, are putting in the work.
They're having some fun. At the end of the round, you saw some of the face cams, Customer's laughing, and then in between that, Kareem's laying back in his chair, Space is laughing, having a good time. Customer's like hitting Kareem a little bit, like just playing around. The Valiant seem to be in good spirits today, for a good reason. They know they have kind of control of their own destiny, so to speak.
Yeah.
They know they have control in this series.
And they got their 7th player turning up in full force here in the Blizzard Arena. They got to be pleased about that.
Here you go. It's my my tried and trusted Symmetra strategy here. TP to the point, turn around, set up.
Completely busted on live, by the way, with the beam changes.
Oh, look at this. They use the main wall and teleport to the high ground.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. That's filthy. Space getting rid of Color Hex early just makes things even worse for the Uprising. KSF's got to be hitting really hard after spending some time on that shield fusion. Melted! Still alive, but only for just a moment.
I was going to say, you start getting the primary fire on some of these barriers, and you can just start chunking players down. I mean, that is
gosh!
nasty
Somebody
stuff.
stop this guy! Oh, and the Plasma Cutter is unleashed on the Boston Uprising. This isn't a CNC mill, this is an Overwatch game!
All right, so you got 6 minutes to get a tick on the point here. So what do they decide to do? They want to TP left side? Do they want to wait a little bit? It looks like they're going to delay this. Maybe they're trying to fake them out. Like,
Here we
like
go.
would have gone really quick left side. Now they're going to go far left.
Once more into the breach. KSF getting very close as well to a big old projected barrier wall. Where does he place it? Okay, considers for just a moment now. Might be setting up a safe zone on the balcony side, but look at this, they can push in. Blase doing excellent work getting rid of Fact Fiction. His focus has been good so far. KSF blocked in by his own teammate's wall, or maybe he wished it would have stayed up. Now he's going to face down Fusions. But Stella, he has to go with Ice Block. Sound Barrier now means that the Valiant can get that much more aggressive, but here comes the Blizzard on the point. Agilities might be in trouble. KSF's not getting out of that one alive. He tried to go for a cheeky teleporter that actually got Agilities out of the Blizzard after the Ice Block. Still, as exciting as it is, the Boston Uprising clamped down and they put the shenanigans to bed.
I will say though, like when you can get the Symmetra to start firing on the Orisa barrier, like the power of Symmetra starts to go ramp
You get
up
your ammo
really
back,
quick.
so you can indefinitely pressure barriers down.
Yeah.
People forget how good Symmetra is at shield pressure, even if she's not like a Roadhog or a Junkrat.
You saw how fast they forced Stellar into Ice Block as they got
Fusion
Fusion
Slap.
to sleep here up on the high ground. They're trying to pull him down.
Great wall. Yeah, there you go. So they follow up on the fact that the Valiant are split off here, and this might just be a straight up reset now. It's getting a bit messy in the Uprising. Really set the one up well with Stella, cutting the Valiant in half.
So Color Hex gets a pick at the beginning on the Hanzo. So, 6 minutes down to 4 minutes and 25 seconds here is it's going to have to be an incredible defense here from Boston, like no mistakes across the board. They do have the Batiste in place. You have Immortality Field, no Ant Matrix just yet. You're going to be playing really two main supports here for Boston, Leon and Batiste. So let's see if Agility decides to use Blizzard. You could use Blizzard and maybe Nano the Reaper, Nano the Diva in this scenario. Try and pick up some kills. They
Wall
really
comes up.
do want by it.
And that will guarantee a safe passage here. It means the Valiant can't be split up until they get onto this high ground. They have a Rissa barrier here from Fact Fiction, so they can hang around and try and go for a poke war, but I do think that they want to force the Uprising to fight on the point. Here goes the self-destruct over the top. Space. Wall gets thrown up to try and prevent anyone from getting safely back towards this spawn. And Blase! He's a popsicle right now. We'll find in just a moment, but Fusion's what I can't say to say for him. He's able to get away with the use of Fortify, try and get back into his spawn and heal up. That might actually work. He's going to hang around and take the fight versus Agility. Stella takes down Fact Fiction. The Uprising looking much better on defense here. Blase, yes, he'll be taken down. Stella's pretty safe though. He can try and chase Custer. The Immortality Field now being deployed as Kellex comes back out on the Batiste.
Well, Kellex gets a really good use out of Amp Matrix. Usually you see the Amp Matrix used for like a ton of damage, like some players sit behind it. But when Fusion is backing up, getting pushed by Agilities, he drops the Amp Matrix over by the spawn door in the back right, and he's able to just look through it, heal up. Fusions, as he's getting pressured on the back, I believe Space pushes him at that moment in time, and then Space ends up getting demeched with some extra damage going down through the Amp Matrix. So, really good use of that Batiste ultimate there from Kellex. And now we're down to 2 minutes and 45. This has been really good on defense from Boston.
Dragon Strike for Color Hex. He probably lets this one rip without too much hesitation if they push him down the stairs. He sees them all come. He hit the Sonic Arrow.
Oh, they're running away. That's a 6-player biotic grenade.
Running, they have to wait. This is a little bit scary for Los Angeles. They give away their position. They give Boston all the time in the world to adjust. They're going to try and force a straight-up fight on the point, and Dragon Strike immediately is deployed. Fact Fiction's trying to get away to safety, but he eventually is cut down by Fusions. No shield tank here for the Valiant. This is a bit scary, trying to face down all this damage, and Kellex cleans Custer up. Supercharger making it easier.
And I was actually like, when I sit here and cast, right, I can see like the stage as well over the top. And Custer goes to use Barrier, and as soon as he dies, he just kind of like slams, and he has this angry face on, like he knew he kind of gave that one away. Potentially, you would have saved that Barrier. You didn't have the shield tank like you mentioned. And Custer, I think as soon as he popped that ultimate, he knew like, I shouldn't be doing this, and he wanted that one back.
With already a map win in hand, a draw here isn't the worst thing for the Valiant. They would only have to win one of the next 2 maps. Boston would have to win out, but they start with a 5-minute advantage.
Their great defense goes to waste. I mean, you have 6 minutes as well to take 1 tick on point B, and you're not able to do it. There ain't no way you're spinning that positive for me. I'm sorry.
Play starts for Coalescence. Fact Fiction! They couldn't keep him alive. Kellex takes him down with an amplification matrix. KSF, there's no way he can stay here and remain undetected. He's going to have to get out. Pressured by Color Hex on all sides. People are going at him, trying to Wraith Walk away, and it does not work.
These attacks have been bad, like really bad from the Valiant. I mean, there really haven't been any that you were like, oh, they're close to taking it.
Yes.
The only one was the first one, maybe the Symmetra with the wall, but other than that, I mean, they have not really had one that you're like, oh, maybe one ultimate use could have went their way. Like, if they had Sound Barrier right now, maybe you'd even feel a little bit better about it, but they don't have that.
Not even close.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get it potentially for the rest of the round.
Supercharger, can they get value out of that? They now have a Widowmaker in play. KSF switches off the Reaper. Here we go, Supercharger laid down. Kellex taken out. That was the problem for the Valiant in the previous fight. This might be where they begin. Agilities wants to wrap around the side. He's going to run into Arna here, but thankfully, Persia has no time to pay him any attention. Here comes the Blizzard. Persia frozen and taken down. It is going to be a Blizzard coming out from Stella though, but he went down before the fight really started, and there it is. The Valiant finally come up with the answer. It was a switch to Widowmaker, play off the Supercharger, find the first pick, and find the map win. It's 2-0 for your Los Angeles Valiants.
That is all KSF there to be able to take it. When he switches to Widow, you're relying on him to get a pick off, to spin the fight in your favor at the beginning. He gets one right away on a Kellex. No Immortality Field available. None of that extra damage that Batiste provides. And the Valiant are able to take the point. So the Valiant do get that second map. Although it is not pretty, they will have that big 2-0 as we go into halftime. We'll see what the halftime crew has to say about that.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.
Apagando las luces. Rains from above.
your strike.
Cease your resistance. Nerf this. Apagando las luces. What evil the weather?
I am unstoppable.
Oh, this is a.
You see that?
I see.
Oh!
We're all trying to fist bump, bro. I was like, oh.
Wait.
Whoa, Boston. LA needs this win today, and so far they're up 2-0 over the Uprising. Hey guys, it's Puckett back with Zoe and Sideshow. It's halftime here, but we wanted to reflect real quickly before we jump to the highlights about how good this series has been previously in the Overwatch League. Both teams kicked things off with us in 2018, and as you can see in the recent matches, they have played each other very tight outside of that first stage matchup.
This is our number 2 and our number 3 from the regular season in 2018. Times have changed, but what we're in for today, I think, is another close game. Yes, the Valiant are up 2-0 at the half, but the Boston Uprising are kings of the reverse sweep. If there was any team that was going to be able to do it, I mean, look at the rest of those games. It would be them.
So true. As we take a look back at the highlights from this one, Zoe, how did the Valiant get out to the early lead?
Well, I think they had a phenomenal time on Busan, and a lot of that was due to KSF. He put so much pressure on with that McCree, which just worked out really well for them, mostly because Boston had to actually commit a lot of resources to shut him off. So Stellar had to commit a lot of his walls to KSF and to shutting him down, and Space kind of edged it out at the very end there with a fantastic
Little help
3K.
from Custo. Love to see that.
Absolutely great boot from Custer, and then Kareem had a 3K here as well on the second round. The Valiant supports certainly come out to play, but Agilities is really who they're building around. And it's interesting to me that they go with these non-May Reaper strategies. We're definitely seeing a switch in the league between some teams really liking the May Reaper, some teams definitely trying to break it. Valiant in the second camp for sure.
Is the Pharah the answer here? Is that the counter to the May Reaper?
Well, it sometimes is. It's very map
Depends on the map, yeah.
And also it just depends on your opponents as well. Some of the teams with May Reaper are just too good, and they'll run over your tanks before the Pharah can do anything. But Boston Uprising still struggling a little.
I have to say, I was very impressed by both teams on the second map. It seemed like a brawl at times on Hanamura, especially that point A. But the Valiant, they won me over with their Symmetra strategy. Let's take a look back at some of the big moments from game number 2, though, because it was almost a draw here. Valiant had to clutch up in the final minute of action.
Yeah, frankly, I think the person who must be the most relieved at the end of this map has to be Fact Fiction, because he kind of dropped the ball. He started dying a lot. And this could have gone a lot worse if it weren't for the rest of the team really stepping it up. I think Space had a great map here. He barely died at all, and he created an insane amount of space for his entire team here to really shine.
And Boston ended up running a bunch of different strategies as well. You know, sometimes going for the Sombra Doomfist, trying to break things open. Fusion's running a lot of the Wrecking Ball. Sometimes trying to match the Orisa. They haven't really figured out what's going to work, but if there's a team to fix things with the coaches having a big input, it's always Boston in the halftimes.
And it's interesting seeing Blase again on that off tank. He is just getting bullied as Baby Diva over and over again.
He's
My
tweeting
heart goes
about how
out
much
to
he
you,
likes
buddy.
it.
But Josh, we talked about Custa setting up the bomb from Space earlier in the series, but sometimes we've seen the Valiant have the tanks setting up the supports. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I've got a sick play, which is the insights powered by Intel for this match, where we're going to look at how the whole of the LA Valiant set up Custer to be able to avoid the Dragon Blade. So here's a situation at the end of a team fight. Fusions has just used his ultimate. The Wrecking Ball ultimate throws mines all over the place. And that's going to allow these tanks down here to run into the mines. So when you roll the clip, you'll keep your eyes on the main tank here. Deliberately takes damage, and then pauses for a moment, checks with Custer, deliberately runs into the second mine. Now, Space and Fact Fiction are both incredibly weak here and just getting slowly healed up by the Harmony Orb. Look at Custer's ultimate charge. It ticks up from 40% up to about 75% over the course of this, as they just realized that the entirety of the Boston Uprising are nowhere near being able to capitalize on the damage that's been done. So Custer just keeps ticking up this ult charge, keeps ticking it up, and he needs this ult for when Color Hex is going to come back in with the Dragon Blade. This is a beautifully intelligent play, and you can see it here from the wide shot where, yes, the fight ends up being cleaned up, but what's really important is they've got their brain set for the next fight coming up. They know the win conditions for the Boston Uprising, and they just waddle into the mines. I think it's also incredibly comical to watch Orisa just run into the Wrecking Ball mines. But as they rotate around, you'll see that this is so important for the entirety of blocking Color Hex's next attack. Because when it comes down to it, this Dragon Blade could have just mopped everything up with a minute left on the clock. But it's a huge clutch play from the whole of the LA Valiant to ensure that they don't get wiped. That's how you play the ultimate economy. That's what's made LA Valiant such a great team before.
Love to see it, man. Thinking all the way through the game, even in the final moments after that panic. So Valiant right now in control of this series, and as we touched on in the pre-show, they control their destiny. You got 2 matches next week at the Kit Kat Rivalry Weekend, and now, of course, you're going up against Boston right now. They're looking for those map counts. Do you think today is a 4-0?
It certainly looks like it, but if you look at the historical data,
no. Boston's going to drag it all the way to map 5, and
we're
then
going
they
to 5.
lose. Yeah, we're going to 5, and Valiant is going to take it.
You've got a lot of faith in the Boston Uprising.
I do, and
my
probably
faith has
am
been
wrong.
eroded.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Blizzard Arena, do you guys have faith in your Valiant squad? The LA fans have spoken. It's all green here in the Blizzard Arena. We'll be back with Game 3 after this.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
Team up for special attack.
Boston Uprising have struggled again in this match to really make a mark, Matt. Map 2, they looked a little bit better on Hanamura. Their defense, sort of spearheaded by Kellex on the Batiste, started to look like they were putting the Valiant in a compromising spot, but we saw the Valiant finally break through.
Yeah, a little bit better, but not good enough. So the Valiant were still able to take Hanamura, and I think if you're the Valiant, look, you know this is a must-win game, like your last 3 are really must-win.
Sure.
But you feel great about this. I mean, they're not really that worried. They know that Boston is a struggling team right now. Maybe Boston's able to muster something up after the halftime, like Josh said. So we seem to believe in a game 5.
Hey, look, I mean,
We've seen weirder.
it's a tough job for the Valiant. They have to essentially win out to get into the playoffs, but 2 of those games are going to be at their homestand.
Right.
And I mean, when was the last time the Dallas Fuel won? It was at their homestand. You know, people talk about home team advantage not really counting in esports. The Valiant, maybe they get spoiled by the crowd turning up here all the time, but you have to think that's when they're going to be fired up.
One of their matches is against the Gladiators, so you expect the Gladiators fans to show up as well.
Oh, it's going to be mental.
So it's always a fun time.
But it's the here and now, Matt. You know me. I like to live in the moment.
Boston has not won this map. So obviously, by saying that, you think it's going to be a struggle. It'll be a Hanzo for both teams, and you'll run Zen and Batiste here for both sides. So
quite aggressive. A composition that wants to mow one another over.
It's just a different look in terms of like supports. You have the Zen with the extra discord, some more shield pressure when they're coming around the corners for both sides. Some high ground as well that you're able to pick players off from if you can get the Zen into position. So we'll see how both teams play around this.
Notice a very tight angle being taken by Custer and Kareem. Custer on the Batiste. Now just playing in that small choke. Here comes the push onto the point now. Immortality field deployed.
Such a great spot from Color Hex though. You need to be able to get sat up here on the high ground and
yet,
now you lose your tanks.
Your front row's gone. Stella forced to back away as well. He already used his eye spot. KSF will try and help with a stagger attempt. And where are you going, Kelex? The Great Dane is being hunted.
He grabs the health pack to prolong his own
this guy's
life.
a bowler, man. He does not care. Hanging around. He didn't want to get staggered.
Persia? Hold on a second. Can we get the Persia? Where is he trying to do?
I'm not sure.
Persia, you can see his little outline here.
KSF also knows he's there.
Where is he going?
We've
located a buggy. And now on hot pursuit.
Oh, Persia!
You're filthy!
Get him, Persia!
You're nasty, boy! Persia in the back line, and now that makes things a little bit scary for the Uprising. They lose a player. There's also a Zenyatta behind it who'd be nasty.
You know what Huck did at halftime? He just started to play some sideshow bots, and he was like, Persia, this is what we need you to do.
The last thing we need is people encouraging him more.
We need you to get on the flank, and it opens it up, though. Why not?
Astonishing! Persia just straight chilled. Yo, we got the sands of time. Prince of Persia just turning it back to the days of Zenyatta being busted.
Persia just turned and like fist bumped Kelex. Like, yeah, I knew that was gonna work. It's like I had that all along, man. Don't worry about it. Yo, that was pretty crazy.
Sometimes you gotta make the play, Matt.
4 final blows for Persia.
Hey, it was basically the Great Bamboozle, except with 5 less players.
and a Zenyatta.
All right, Stella, what do you got? Wall up here. No, it's a Blizzard straight away. There comes the wall later a little bit to separate them out. Fact Fiction down early. Immortality field, though, very timely for the Valiant. They're able to shrug off most of that damage. And here comes the amplification matrix. Walls up, dragging through Color Hex. Catching Custer, Batiste could not get away. Vertically, he's got good mobility. Horizontally, not so much.
I tell you what, though, like, as much as we're joking about it and as ridiculous it is, a play like that from Persia, like, opens it up for Boston. It lightens the mood on their side. And it kind of comes up a little bit like embarrassing for the Valiant. Like, okay, like, we knew the Zen was there. How did we let him just get a pick on our Hanzo and then come on the flank, grab another one? Like, could be difficult to recover it. Boston making a very speedy push towards getting point B. The Valiant will try and fight this, though.
Dragon Strike. Just to force the Uprising out of the way. Those health bars are looking a little low, though. Amplification matrix essentially shut down, but the payload's getting there! And the Valiant let it happen!
It's not good for the Valiant. Like we saw at the beginning, though, the Boston Uprising have not won this map. And they are making it look easy thus far against the LA Valiant. So they take point B. 4 minutes plus to complete the map. They have a Transcendence here. They're going to have a Blizzard. No support ultimate available here for the Valiant. They're in a lot of trouble.
Wall gets the Uprising on the high ground. Hulk thrown out, hooks to follow. Nothing found from those, but Fact Fiction's seen better days. He's a little low. He's actually taking a Sonic Arrow now. Spade trying to push forward or stave off the aggression from Boston. He's knocked into the stratosphere. Here the Blizzards come down. Immortality field there. Blase go for the hook after it gets unfrozen, gets caught back, goes for the take a breather. Here comes the Dragon. And it is the Uprising coming out on top here. The trades are looking good, and KSF, well, he's probably been in his own head ever since the Zenyatta incident.
They may not even get Fusions back in the fight as he's coming off the spawn, but they may not even need it, the supercharger, to push it on through. That'll be a contest that comes in late here from Backfiction.
Immortality field, how annoying! Agilities has to get rid of it first. Amplification matrix is not enough. Space, it was off the card.
Now Boston showing some signs of life. You see just the mood amongst the players.
Bro, Kellex walked into the arena looking like a thundercloud earlier on. Starts to see a smile on his face.
So 3 minutes and 15 seconds in the time bank. That is really fast there from the Boston Uprising, as they have a good advantage going into halftime against the Valiant in a map they have not won before. The Valiant need to pick it up on offense. We'll see if they can do it after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Well, following that little defensive attempt, the Valiant are equal parts green and angry. They wanted to try and close out this series here on King's Row, but that has become much more difficult now with the Uprising just steamrolling them. KSF getting utterly boomed by Persia, and then the cleanup was nasty.
Persia's flanking Zen play opened it up. KSF knew he was there. Persia just hits the shots, and it all kind of unravels after that. As we'll see how the Valiant go on offense. They have to obviously complete the map to send us into like extra innings, and then they also have to have a pretty good time bank to even give themselves a chance to compete with Boston, who's put together 3 minutes and 15 seconds in the bank of full map completion. So,
and it is tough, you know, when you're dealing with May, Roadhog, and Orisa, it's kind of hard to get these really fast attacks unless you're snowballing. You don't have like specific combos necessarily. And there it is, the Eternal and the Fuel watching this map, cheering for the Boston Uprising. They still want their shot at playoff contention. It is slim, but it is there.
It's wild that it's still there. I feel like Dallas more than Paris. Paris has had their ups and downs, but they've been kind of like that the entire year, where Dallas started out really hot and then kind of fell off really hard. But both of those teams obviously have a lot to watch for here. If Boston can hold on in this map, those teams still remain in play.
Zen Batiste don't have a ton of burst healing. Matt and those healing resources are being stretched to their limits.
I don't know how much burst healing you need when you have immortality heals. Like, you just can't die, right? Like,
yeah, the problem is though, is you are still taking damage and you're not getting healed sometimes.
Yeah.
So you all come out of the immortality field with like 4 players that are like 20% health. And that's where like it gets a bit scary. You need to have an Orisa barrier up there pretty quick.
Yeah, you're just more like the immortality field, just like buying time to get a new barrier, to get like your take a breather off, and then like some heals down on the target.
You definitely need to heal your teammates while they're inside the Immortality field. It doesn't give you an excuse to slack off. Here comes an amplification matrix across the point. Wall comes up, too slow to save fusions though.
He can't even react. I mean, they come around the corner, can't matrix yet. Everybody there firing through it. Is Color Hex on the flank though, takes out KSF, trying to even this up.
Wall from Agility. Stella was able to get on top of it though. He now goes into Ice Block. Agility tries to prime his endothermic blast. He has it with KSF as well. Stella guns him down. Custer's Immortality field is removed. Kellex has one now. That is gone. Color Hex just getting those storm arrows into space and not a thing the Roadhog could do about it. The cherry on top here for Color Hex as he chases Kareem.
And we highlighted this matchup in the pregame on these heroes, these two players, Color Hex and KSF. And on this map, specifically in that Hanzo battle, Color Hex has definitely gotten the better of KSF. As Color Hex sitting 19 limbs, 9 final blows, 28% of the team damage. KSF only 4 limbs and 2 final blows. It's not been good.
Oh, Agility's moves forward. He's very low. It's an early Immortality field that has to be deployed by the Valiant. Blizzards are plenty for both sides. And Agility's comes off second best here. Persia removes him in that amplification matrix for Zenyatta. Is why Batiste and Zenyatta are played together.
But now Persia has this transcendence to use. Like, you kind of have it free. As the Blizzard came out from Agilities, he got nothing. So you're able to use it as you would want. If both superchargers comes down, that'll be a Color Hex Dragon Strike through the wall.
KSF finds the kill, but Persia was already able to do damage, getting rid of that Immortality field and Fact Fiction. A very deep amplification matrix as well. See where it's placed. Valley maybe weren't able to really do too much with that one. They still want to chase Blase though. Stella's got to be an issue in and of itself. Wall comes up. Agilities realizes it needs to be dropped. And the Valiant now can just apply spawn pressure. They get the point, but Matt, their time bank is not going to look all that rosy.
Well, you need a Persia to stay alive there for Boston. If you had the Transcendence, you're probably able to keep Blase alive. Maybe some other players playing in the corner. You could have came out and actually contested that. But Persia does drop early on. Boston backs up. They want to get at full strength here. So you still have Color Hex coming back, who's a lot of your damage on the Hanzo. So you need to get him back in the fight. Same with Stiller on the Mei before you start to push up. So the Valiant, they realize that. They back up a little bit. This next fight probably takes place at around this corner.
Bolt thrown out. Wall. This is customary to prevent one of your teammates from being yoinked from your midst. Here's that Dragon Strike. Stella caught with a headshot early. And that's going to force the Uprising away. They're split as well. Blase is kind of behind the Valiant right now. Split off from the rest of his team at any rate. Both Hanzos are down. What does Blase do? He's just up on the left here. He's hiding. Agility just found him though. This is where it gets a little bit dicey. And they run him down. Paler's going to keep moving now. The wall comes up. They try and section fusions off the rest of his team. Persia trying to assist though. Good Transcendence timing, but you've already lost so many players. God, that was a predictive wall if I've ever seen one. That came up at the same time as that amplification matrix.
That Transcendence pretty much puts you in the same spot. Stellar will use his Blizzard. This will be Transcendence from Kareem.
There's no one.
Keep everybody alive.
No one really gets caught by that one at all. The Transcendence was good, but the only player that was inside the Blizzard was Fact Fiction, and that was voluntarily. They have lost Agility. So Fusions, oh, it's the Discord or Kareem. Takes care of business himself, and now in Fact Fiction getting it done in the main. It's going to be Blase having to flank around now with that whole hog. He gets rid of that Immortality field, but that will be all.
That'll be point 2 here for the Valiant. His Agilities will go to Doomfist. Does he want to stay on the Doomfist? Nope, goes back. He'll switch off back to Mei. So, the push is not looking as good as Boston's push was, but if you're the Valiant, all you can focus on now is map completion.
Look, maybe it does look as good.
Time bank.
Maybe it does look as good if they just get that first point a little faster, because that second phase of the map for the Valiant has been really good. Okay, here's a Supercharger versus Amplification Matrix. The Matrix lasts a little longer. Dragon Strike.
Really space around the car.
Yeah, I mean, it'll really keep the Valiant where they were kind of already standing. Here's the Supercharger from the Uprising. Oh, KSF gets rid of that so fast, but he gives up his life in the process. The Valiant, what do they do now with 4 players? They sheepishly try and get out. Fact Fiction prolonging this. Attempted halt there. Fusions was hoping the shield would be broken before the halt actually activated.
They get the Supercharger like you mentioned, but it's just not worth losing KSF's life. Now we're down to 2 minutes on the clock. We'll see what the Valiant decide to do with their next offense, maybe that what they would like to do with the Ant Matrix is come around the corner, drop it down real quick, don't give the other team a chance to react. They have an opportunity to put like an immortality field on one side of the corner.
Oh, Stella!
He's in trouble.
He might have given up the game here. Can his team save him? The answer is a resounding no. He had the Blizzard too. He's going to have to keep that one in his pocket and save it. He's a Transcendent. Oh! Hook on Fusions. He's pulled out of the Transcendent. But he's still able to get back to it. Here's a Dragon Strike now. No hold to follow it up by the looks of things, but it does buy the Valiant some space. Zoning Ultimate used to be a meme. Now it's a real thing. Blase going down first. Stella needs to try and get some use here. Outside of this Ant Matrix, Blizzard thrown down.
They're going to go for it.
Calix's Immortality Field is removed. Color Hex is looking very low, and so is Persia in the back, but no one's really there to follow up on him. Space going forward. He can't take a breather while he's using Whole Hog.
Stellar Blizzards here? Okay. That was everybody did. We decided Blizzard towards the end. As probably would have liked that one. Space actually whole hogged Stellar directly into Kariv. Not the Bay directly in the line of sight of the Zen. Got Kariv killed during that.
Not really what you want.
No. An opportunity here though. You have Transcendence for the Valley. You know there's no Blizzard or anything huge on the other side.
Running out of time, no. Los Angeles have to make the play. They need to finish the map at the very least. Space playing off to the right-hand side of the Roadhog. The threat of that is enough to push the Uprising back. Two shield thrown up here. Hulk forks to come. Back Fiction, he gets eaten for dinner! And now, I mean, the Valiant have to double down. They have no choice but to try and commit to this fight, but Space can't find a target. That Amplification Matrix gets very little value, and here comes the Double Dragon. Blase finds two, Whole Hog to start it off. And the Boston Uprising, nicely done from them. A fantastic attack followed up with an absolutely solid defense. And they will keep their heads above water, they will stay alive, and the Fuel and the Eternal look on. And they also are pleased.
Boston gets the map win there, which is great for Paris and Dallas. In terms of their playoff chances, it's a really strong map from the Boston Uprising. You see the guys on Boston just much lighter moods on the stage. They know they have a chance now in this series.
And of course, the Valiant getting a little bit more dire for them. It'll need to be a recovery and finish this series off clean with map 4 coming up right after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Okay, talk manga?
Boy check!
Hey, yo!
Okay.
야, 마이크 체크야.
Mic check ya.
Woo!
Oh, don't. Oh my God. Dante.
Oh,
That was pretty
Dante,
loud,
please,
Dante.
please, please.
Good.
Crash mouse.
Hello, my name is Corey Overwatch, and I'm here today to teach you how to play Hanzo and Widowmaker. If you guys kick him in the ankles, the cameras won't catch it.
Guts?
What, dude?
World stage, man.
What? Where's my hair?
Please, night market. Please. Please. Night market, night market, night market.
Oh, stop.
Literally, Void is just farming to get on voice comm checks or whatever.
Farming lols.
That's
Haha, if you say com check, it's in the com check.
The freezing sound is so loud, it hurts my ears. It's like.
Good impression, dude.
onomatopoeia.
I mean, I don't feel like cold right now, but I'm a tomato.
What?
I'm a tomato.
I'm surprised.
Why so many people?
Cause of me.
That's true. As architect.
No, cause of me.
Pilot, no one know you.
Oh, yeah,
no one know you. I remember first time I meet Aid, so nice. Now Aid mean. You change. America changed you. Okay.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Wait, no, that's bad, dude.
Thank you.
No.
What's wrong with them being American, man?
Are you calling me a papa?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's weird.
Stop. Whoever's doing com check, just leave all that out.
Rule number one about comms check, it never gets left out.
I love those.
Yeah, players are feeling it. I mean, it's been a long season. Some of them, you can't blame
Some
them.
of
They've gone a little bit cuckoo up there on stage.
They're going crazy up there.
lot of
I
matches.
enjoy London's every time. Like you get like a new look of gesture, whether he's like dancing or laughing
Oh, you
weird.
can tell which episode of JoJo he's up to based on like what he's yelling into the mic.
It's London, a bunch of characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were able to do that last year and they just skate through and win the whole thing. So, I mean, grand finals, there's an option, a chance for them to make it all the way there. Another pennant.
So some updates in terms of playoff scenarios for this match. If the Valiant were to win this map, they would win the series, obviously. They would also knock out Dallas and Paris. So Dallas and Paris need Boston to come back and win the series to still stay alive. This also has some ramifications for the last match of the night, which is Chengdu Houston. If the Valiant win here and Chengdu were to lose that match to the Houston Outlaws, that would secure a spot for the Valiant in the Shanghai Dragons, and you'd have your top 12. So that's where we're at in terms of today. Could see a top 12 locked in. You could see craziness, depending on what Boston Uprising shows up in this map and potentially the last.
There's a world where we don't have a top 12 locked in until next week. Valiant 3-1 on Havana thus far. And it's that kind of map where you can get some sniper action in early. It's like it'll be Widowmaker versus Hanzo.
And I will say, Color Hex really outplayed KSF in the Hanzo battle in the last map.
It's the Farah spawn camp.
Oh yeah, this is something we've seen a bunch of teams do. It becomes really difficult to get out of this position. Maybe Color X goes to Widowmaker, jump shots. Oh, right, yeah. Just casually just doing that.
Unbelievable Color Hex, what an opener! Oh, it's safe to say the Uprising are out of the gates and flying.
I ain't gonna hit the button to say I want to see that one again. I mean, that was sick.
I almost fell out of the caster booth, that's not a lie.
He just like, oh yeah, far above us, don't worry, I'll handle it. Jump shot, barely even sees agilities on his screen during it. Able to land the shot is KSF switches over to Widowmaker, but Color Hex has already gone over to Hanzo, so it's just Persia moving the cart right now. You're gonna have some shield break advantage here for the Boston Uprising with the Hanzo in play.
My gosh. Agility's, yeah, on that main, that's the switch. No more Farah. Yeah, I think he's learned his lesson now. Space trying to play an off angle here, potentially eat up a hold, but defense matrix doesn't really go across this cul-de-sac. It's not long enough anymore. That payload's still advancing. The Valiant have to actually dig their heels in here and commit to a fight. Maybe it happens here. Wall comes up, Stellar via agilities. That's been the headline matchup in the May roll.
Heart's going right in.
Yeah, Kellex almost gets it there. Now comes an Immortality field out, but the agilities didn't get the memo. He wasn't there in time. And the Valiant are not looking good for them right now. Kareev has to take refuge now back towards, away from the point, and yeah, they walk it in.
This This isn't good for the Valiant.
Not a good start at all.
No, they got rolled on King's Row. At the beginning here, it's Color Hex again. You know, we made a really big impact. Like, I feel like the King's Row, we can take a look at the opener again. Goes back to Widow. Look at this.
That's so unreasonable! Micro correction there.
I mean, that's just a filthy shot, but a lot like how Persia's weird flank set up a lot of what happened on King's Row. Does that spiral things in favor of the Boston Uprising here?
We're talking snowball maps. What a way to get in the Valiant's head. They definitely need some mental fortitude. Right now, KSF, you're being hunted. Color Hex opts not to commit to that one. Fact Fiction goes down here. KSF goes for yet another stab at it, but Color Hex has a Sonic Arrow inside that room. He's going to get pushed now. Nano Boost here on Space to try and do some work. What does Space do now? He kind of just sits around on the ground awkwardly, waits for his next cooldown, and the Valiant are getting cut to pieces!
Look at how much progress the cart's made.
Still going, but it never stopped.
The cart is not stopped.
Like, oh, mate, it was all smiles in map 2 now. It looks like sharp words being exchanged.
You can see Custa and Fact Fiction on stage. Like, if you've played in like tournaments before, you can tell when people start to like talk really fast and like animated, and you can kind of feel like as on stage, like you're snowballing a little bit, like the wrong way. It's kind of what it looks like now for the Valiant. That they're just kind of telling go with the Blizzard.
Oh, there it is. Eat on the Dragon Strike. That might help things a lot here for the Valiant. They needed something to stem the bleeding. They pulled them out of this nosedive and they found it.
You needed a play. You needed anybody to make a play there. As Space comes in with the big Dragon Strike. But now you play close. If you play close, I guess the positive is you'll get the Blizzard out, but you may end up losing the fight.
Stella. Okay, now he's made his presence known. I don't know if they were really aware of him before that, so Space keeps an eye on him here. I mean, another eat here from Space would be huge. Plus, they couldn't get out of the Dragon Strike there. Discord Orb goes a long way to getting rid of the Roadhog. Ant Matrix down. Supercharged, should I say. Stella goes in for the Blizzard here. Wall down. KSF gets him. Fact Fiction needs to get on the right side of that shield. There's a Transcendence in play right now from Persia, and he can't get away. Space demeched here, cleaned off. And that's really probably the best you can hope for if you're the Valiant, Matt. Tough hold to stay out in front of this third spawn.
It is still a very difficult road for the Boston Uprising to complete the map. It's Havana here from point B to point C. Very difficult through this last choke. Defenders have high ground in spawn advantage, which is like a rarity towards the end of a map in Overwatch. It's really one of the only ones like in terms of payload. Supercharger here. There'll be a self-destruct that comes in from Space. Doesn't connect with any players, but it gets rid of the immortality field.
Supercharger also removed. Fusions would have liked that one to try and push through. A lot of ultimates, offensive ultimates from Boston actually. Try and shove in. I don't really think they've got enough here, no, especially not now after losing Fusions. Oh, Color Hex was got knocked off there by Space, whose watchful eye was cast over this side of the board. And there it is! Boston have to back away now.
So Boston just going to regroup here. They don't really have any ultimates to work with, especially with the Valiant having a bunch in their ultimate bank. They're going to probably win this next fight. Color Hex to switch over to Widowmaker, so you know you don't have any ultimates here. You're going to try and maybe like work for a pick on the Widow, catch somebody off guard.
Trying to punish maybe KSF for peeking over the wall. Mortality field there. You can see that keeps the Uprising alive. Blizzard now from the Valiant. They are investing in this fight. Shield up to cover Fusions, and Fact Fiction is down. Some more work to be done here for KSF. Fusions has seen better days. He gets healed up. KSF quickly jumps around the corner, and look at this Custer. Throws up that amplification matrix. Kareev, all of the ultimates here for the Valiant get used.
Still have a Blizzard, yeah. Still have a Blizzard here for the Uprising as well. So see how they try and use this towards the end. It's really the only like major ultimate coming out like us. Pick off there on the Blase. That's not good there for Boston. They're gonna Blizzard right away.
Oh,
they get a pick on a Kareev.
Perfect timing.
Too.
Just as the Valiant was starting to get aggressive, the Uprising bite them into it. It's sloppy. from Los Angeles to try and go aggressive after that. And they walk straight into the Blizzard, not looking good now.
No one can
That is
hide.
probably not intentional there from the Uprising to get first picked off first, but they have an advantage there. They use the Blizzard, they catch the poking out a little too far.
Space, it's just him. D-Suiter onto the point. Supercharges there, Fusions, mows KSF down as he tries to step up. Big mistake, Los Angeles. They thought they had the fight win. And the rest was pretty obvious. Walking into a Blizzard, everyone gets froze up, and that is that.
They still have a minute in the time bank, as Havana is a very difficult map to complete. Just to remind you needed a color hex, like crazy Widowmaker jump shot at the beginning to get this thing going.
If that doesn't happen, I mean,
they're stuck there for
the chances of the Uprising finishing the map are very low. That's like a once in a blue moon kind of thing. Obviously for color hex, it's probably not all that uncommon. I feel you're right. You see Russ, he's feeling the pressure right now. They find themselves way behind the 8 ball when they go to attack on an escort
when we
map.
go to like the camera shots of these players, you remember Valiant in the first half, like how much they were smiling and cussing everybody, joking around. Like it looks like the vibes of both teams just flipped completely at halftime. Where now Boston's coming out, they're playing loose, they're playing like pretty confident, and you can tell Valiant like the pressure really hitting them here. They know how important this match is.
Not to mention that Boston are all too used to being underdogs in this arena.
Also, think back to stage 1, where the Valiant they have a brutal stage. They don't win a game, and how many Game 5 scenarios they went through.
I mean, that one against the Hangzhou Spark was probably the nastiest, one of the early ones. New York Game 5 loss.
Just a team that has crushing defeats throughout the year.
They don't want to go back to that time again.
Nope.
It ain't so.
No far on defense here. For Boston, they'll just play Mei Hanzo and play close.
The Valiant, they don't hear a Pharah early. They don't really check for it. Color Hex can play it, of course. I believe Stella can as well. Agility's wall up to make sure that hook coming from Blase wouldn't be able to capitalize. Mortality field now needs to be down. Ooh, careful. That hold was good. Blase yoinks Agility's in. This is what you don't want to be walking into if you're the Valiant. This is what the Uprising were able to circumvent by getting that huge pick on Agilities.
Now you can control the cart here as Fusions gets pulled up. He also gets hit with a Discord Orb. You can see on the back of his recent model is that'll be an Amp Matrix already here for Boston. So, Costa's going to be able to get a pick though here. That's going to be a hook that comes in from space, bringing in Fusions. That may end Boston's defense, yeah.
Boston only have that last remaining shield from Fusions. It won't be replaced after it's gone. Nor will any of their downed players. Valiant are off and running here. They definitely need to scorch their way through not only this, but also the next phase of the map, that brewery phase.
Well, it's a way better lot of ultimates here available for the Valiant. You're going to have all 6.
I mean, the problem is, Matt, is the Boston didn't need those ultimates when they pushed through. They just won.
True, they just won like 2 fights pretty much, and that was it.
Dragon Strike here could be good. Let's it go. I mean, not a lot of subtlety about that one. It is going to force the Uprising to make a positional change, but the other Dragon gets Agilities, and I mean, you would have thought maybe you try and...
and then...
Transcendence has to be used. I mean, you're going to lose Kareem there if you don't go for it. You have to put direct in this basket. Hold, hook, space caught, and Matrix. This is nasty! He gets completely cut down, but KSF was able to find Fusions. This is an absolute fiesta right now. But the Valiant looks like this is where they're more comfortable. KSF gets Color Hex on the drive-by. And the Valiant have 4.5 minutes to go. I mean, it's not pretty. Let's be clear about that. But it is efficient for the Valiant.
I'm happy you said that. That was a little bit messy on both sides. It's like they hook in space and they use the Amp Matrix to finish him right away, and then he just turns and one-shots somebody.
You had the same expression on your face as when Monty tried to force feed you a Monte Cristo sandwich. That was cold and old.
Yeah. Whenever they need somebody to eat something on Watch Point, they always call me.
Why don't they ask me?
Yeah. That's a blizzard that comes down from both teams. The Valiant get the better end on that one, at least at the beginning. You still have some players, though, lingering around.
Here it is!
Oh,
here it is!
Alive now.
Fantastic. From KSF, good follow-up there. He had good positioning on the Hanzo, and the Uprising are already on the back foot, Matt. This is what the Valiant had to do. They want to win the series here. They absolutely can. Masters of their own destiny. It must feel nice, because I tell you what, that's not what Dallas and Paris are feeling right now watching this.
Fusions makes it out, but
it's only
split
Fusions,
off
though.
of the rest of the team. They make quick work of Fusions in the Supercharger. The Ant
What a
Matrix lay down
wall.
here too, so you're going to be able to get this clean up. If you're the Valiant, then you're going to be able to get point B.
Oh, it's an honest day
Continue
to
to
work
move
for
it.
KSF off the farm. And he's dropping the twinings. 4.5 minutes on the clock for the Valiant.
They still need to complete the map though.
No easy task. We saw how hard it was for Boston. It was because the Valiant actually got ahead of themselves. The Boston were able to finish.
KSF goes Widow here as well. So this is where we saw Color Hex go Widowmaker on the other side, just to try and get the one-shot pick-off. You don't have to rely on the ultimate with the Widowmaker. You have some high ground here to work with as well.
That wall's scary. That wall obscures the direction of the Dragon Strike. You have to use your ears. Amplification Matrix, wall thrown up. Oh! And behind door number 1 is an arrow headed straight for your head.
Let's allow Boston to stabilize a little bit as
this Blizzard catches Fusions. He's not getting away with that.
he like almost got Maywalled off by his teammate.
Yeah, again, it's not the first time. Stellar almost blocked off that Ant Matrix as well. He had to hastily drop his own Maywall. It's falling apart for the Uprising. Oh, Matt, they were looking like they were in a good spot.
They're going to be able to do this, though. They have a Blizzard. They're going to have Transcendence as well. Full hog.
What if they can't get out?
Able to come out.
What if they can't get out?
They should be at least able to just jump on the card here and fight this. But
okay,
they are getting knocked back, though, by the whole hog.
Back Fixer's going to walk out of this one. Space does get frozen, though, and Custer sitting in the background. Amplification Matrix goes up. Space, Custer finds Color Hex. The Matisse in the background getting it done. Fact Fiction needs to be healed up, though. The Valiant need to keep the pressure on. And they do. Persia is down. Stella has to come across the face and forced into an early ice block. He needs to get to the safety of that shield. Blaze's low. He's in a 1v1 against Kareem. He heals up, and KSF is felled by Color Hex at range. Here it is. The Dragons trying to clean it off for the Boston Uprising. They hang on.
They barely hang on. I mean, Space is knocking them back with the whole hog. They barely make it with the use of the Transcendence from Persia. Keep everybody topped up.
It goes to show that sometimes just a one pick, even on an Orisa, outside this cul-de-sac is not enough. By the time you get in, the spawns are coming back. I liked the wall from Agilities to stop the spawns.
Especially too, like when you're playing the Widowmaker, once you get into this area where Fusions is like at right now, you can just put a Maywall in the front and it just blocks all sightlines on that Widow.
Time is dwindling. That's the Ant Matrix. It's going to force the Valiant out of line of sight.
They'll have a Supercharger to do the same as well, so you're going to buy even more clock for Boston.
Fact Fiction, though, doesn't get out alive. He was actually forced to go to the right side of screen from Kelix's perspective to like the lower level.
That's a bad loss, though, Mitch. Yep. I mean, you're going to have a Supercharger of your own, but both teams will just probably throw down Supercharger around a corner and just kind of wait it out.
Transcendence might be the play here. Custer has another Amplification Matrix. You saw he used it there to find that pick on Color Hex, but it's nasty when that's up.
Agilities thought maybe they were able to make a run in the last fight, though, and went from May to Doomfist and then back. And look at where that set him in terms of Blizzard here with Stellar.
Quite a sight. Shall I describe it to you, or shall I get a box? It's like Helm's Deep all over again. KSF, there's the first pick.
You can't.
Dragon Strike into the low room here. Fusions is forced to step out, and he's so low on health. No one's going to help him. The Blizzard comes. Maybe it's a little bit too late, though. Supercharger has been removed to Blaze now.
on the flank.
He's going to go with the whole hog. Not enough. He's cut down now. Space going to try and ride this one home. Kellex approaching tentatively now at the Matisse. There's a whole hog here for Space, though. He needs to nail this one. It has to be perfect. Here it goes. Kellex pushed away. He's down. Persia, will he fall as well? He will. Kareem finishes off with a headshot. That's a hook from Space. One more now. Blaze needs to be dealt with. He's out of the mech. And he's removed. Payload sailing home with the Valiant. They keep the dream alive. One step closer to potential playoff berth, but they are feeling it, the Valiant. Tooth and claw they had to fight to finish Havana, but they can still win the series here in map 4, and it's clear to see that Custer would prefer that. We'll be back in just a moment as we go to extra time on Havana. Now, it's not a grand final. It's not a stage final. But it is an important match for the Los Angeles Valiant. And a home crowd here, trying to give all their energy to the home team to send them to that top 12. It's a map win here, it's a map win in map 5, but Boston Uprising are scary when it comes to reverse sweeps, Matt.
And Boston's defense was pretty good until Fusions got like launched into the air and then hooked on in. So Boston, they'll play up close yet again, just like they did on their first defense. And mind you, Boston does have a little bit more time in the bank, 27 seconds to be exact. That's going to be a first pickoff. They're going to get back Fiction.
Agilities wants to keep pressuring here. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Kalex did not see that one coming. KSF defends the fuel Bowsers with his life. Though you know prices are sky high right now.
Yeah, but just that little contest there from Stellar is going to make this one fight here towards the end. So they're going to have to push up the Valiant. You'll probably have a Dragon Strike here for this next fight. Maybe an Amp Matrix as well. See if those two ultimates combined can get you this point A take. Point A would be pretty big here.
Fusions is rattling off orders like a trench gun, trying to get the Uprising arranged and ready for this hold here. They do not want to let the Valiant get a free checkpoint. It will hurt them badly. Wings out call comes across from the 7th player. A Dragon Strike from KSF here needs to be much better than it was last time around. We're in overtime. KSF trying to take the safe angle, trying to put the Uprising in a position they can't get out of. Dragon Strike cuts them apart. And here's an amplification matrix now. Holt catches Agilities. He might have to ice block this. Fusions is also looking pretty average. Space gets hooked in as Blase. Sorry, they got hooked in. Kareem's down though. No Zenyatta right now for the Valley. They have to get it done without him. Blizzard now in the back line. It's gotten Persia. Kalex, he can't get out of it either. The back line of the Uprising is frozen solid. And the Valiant get it done. They push, and they will have another checkpoint. What a huge fight. What a huge Blizzard from Agilities.
Agilities with the Blizzard connects with the supports just as Persia is going to get the Transcendence as well. Boston, they're going to have to get back here as fast as possible. You do have your own Blizzard Dragon Strike and a Transcendence to work with. So you're in pretty good shape if you're Boston, if you can get a full fight quickly. It'll just be now when you go on offense. This is going to be a difficult spot to get the cart to.
If they let KSF get in position and run riot over them, it could be a problem. That's the Dragon Strike. Custer has to wait on the other side of it here, and he takes a bit of damage from it as well. Blizzard thrown down on the payload. Back Fiction looks like he will be frozen, but so is Blase. He's down! The Valiant don't care about the Blizzard. They fight their way through it. Thermal underwear is a heck of a garment. Space finding 2, and the Valiant train ain't stopping at this station.
Oh, they're going to keep this going. You're going to have the Dragon to split players off as they try and jump down. Remember the last Valiant offense, they did the same thing. Fusions was there alone, down on the cart with a supercharger. You're the same exact scenario.
The Uprising.
Do they even challenge?
They realize they can't.
No.
They have to back away, surely. They give it up. And the Valiant another checkpoint, and this is an overtime push for the ages.
The Dallas Fuel and the Paris Eternal looking on, and they are not happy with this.
Supercharger. Amplification matrix off on the right side by Custer. Wall goes up, and Fusions goes down. The Valiant march on, and the Uprising cannot get a foothold. They're backsliding right now, and things may have already gotten too far out of control to save.
There's no way they get a full map completion here, right? I mean, that would be
unprecedented.
Unreal. With their backs against the wall, less time in the bank than Boston. This one looked like it was going to be the Uprising sending us to that game 5. But the Valiant have fought back. They're going to have a Blizzard set up here.
If the Valiant leave the payload for any reason, for any amount of time, the round will essentially end there. They've lost Custer. They need to get it done with just 5. Fact Fiction, big damage from the Dragon Strike. He has to hide behind the payload. Kalahek's getting rid of Kareev here, and he'll drop behind. Try and finish off a couple more of these kills, and it's sad to say for Valiant fans, but that's where their run ends.
It is an unreal run, though. They almost make it the distance on the run back.
That is called being given an inch and taking a country mile.
They only have a minute at the beginning of that. I mean, their time bank is less than Boston. Boston coming in with the advantage. So now the Valiant. Do you play the Pharah again on defense? They play the Pharah like above the spawn. I think you do.
You can't count on Color Hex
yeah.
repeating that.
It is an unreal shot from Color Hex that takes agilities out. We've seen some of the best Widows in the league struggle with even doing that 3 or 4 times.
So fast that it was so fast that our replays didn't have the frame rate to actually capture the moment where he hit the head. And maybe, you know what, Color Hex just clicked. Whatever reason though, now it's already in the annals of history.
Yeah, I like this from the Valiant. You come out and play the Pharah. There's no reason not to do it.
And you know, it was like, can Lightning strike twice? That's really what you're hedging your bets against.
He doesn't hit that shot on the Pharah. You're waiting for the grapple cooldown, probably low a little bit. Like you're talking about actually 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I mean, in terms of like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but in terms of time, you know, that 20 seconds here burnt for the Valiant puts the Boston Uprising the same exact time as they are. So.
I mean, 27 seconds is nothing in this game. We saw Blase get stalled out for that amount of time on Hanamura.
Yeah, he was, Reinhardt just using like the ball there in the spawn.
Yeah, cheeky. Now they know where you are.
So, I believe the last time they played Hanzo with it. So this time I think they played the Widows.
It was definitely Color Hex got the Widow pick off Jildies with an air shot. Jildi's playing safe here. I mean, you would think he would, given what happened to him before. Color Hex, ooh, it's a hop, skip, and a jump inside. Oh, he's done it again! Can you believe it?
You gotta take that risk though if you're the Valiant. I mean, it's just two really good shots from Color Hex.
I don't know, Matt. Maybe it's not lightning striking twice. Maybe he's just that good.
KSF 21 final blows, Color Hex 20 on the other side.
Those two are going mental. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah, another jump shot. That one much clean, easy. I don't want to say easier.
It's easier for us mere mortals to perceive. Yeah.
Still 20 seconds left here for Boston. They gotta run this one very far.
Back to the Hanzo May here. The Valiant can end it here. But will they even try? They are grouping up. By the time the payload gets to the end of this checkpoint here, the Boston will be out of time.
Well, you know what, Mitch, too, they make a lot of changes, the Valiant. So you're not close to ultimates here, but they're going to come out and at least fight this.
In fact, Fiction has to get away. He's taking too much front-loaded damage here. Needs another shield. He steps forward. Here's where the Valiant want to try and end this here and now. Wall behind Fusions. KSF playing very safe on this corner. That halt could have been a problem there. For fact, Fiction, it was very low. KSF trying to make the play. Flanks around, knows the Roadhog was there. There's too much threat. Fusions also very low on health. There's Stella! It's a 1-for-1 trade though. Fact Fiction is down. The Valiant now need to do it without a shield of Blase. No! He forces him out of the way, but it's still overtime. It doesn't matter. They got the checkpoint. It doesn't matter at all. The Valiant don't care. The door's open, and the way is clear for the Valiant to keep making their way to our playoffs. The Uprising make it interesting as ever, but that's the advantage you have when a 7th player is on the field.
In a must-win game, the Valiant come up clutch towards the end. You know, at halftime, it didn't look like it was going to be a close series. Boston really fought the second half, just not enough towards the end as the Valiant keep their playoff chances alive.
They made it scary, the Uprising did.
Oh, yeah.
And they're always a team that you never count out. It's the Coit hexagrams, he says it all the time, but he's not wrong. You never know when the Uprising can cause you problems. And now as well, a bit of revenge for the Australian contingent. We got smashed in the Bledisloe Cup overnight by New Zealand.
Hey, you had to look that up, you didn't even know.
No, I didn't. I did not know that. I have to be very pleased about it now. The Valiant march on one more. Let's now head down to the floor and get some words from Custa with Mika.
Thanks, guys. We're down here with Custa, the support god of the LA Valiant. Make some noise for Custa, you guys. That's right, that's right. So, like I said before, we know you as a support god. You're mainly on Mercy a lot, but we've been seeing you flex onto some Batiste lately and even some Zen today. So how is it getting to stretch your wings, pun absolutely intended there?
Yeah, it was hard convincing them to let me play Zen on second point Hanamura, but I've always wanted to go back, play Zen. You know, used to be a flex support player, so I always loved doing it. You know, had some fun, almost died accidentally to a late summer, but you know, it was good. It's always good, you know, playing other heroes.
Absolutely, and the Shock and the Gladiators have already done some smack talk, said that they're going to be the Kings of California next week at the Kit Kat homestand rivalry game. So it's your chance now as one of the representatives of the LA Valiant to make your mark, talk some smack, and claim that you will rule this great state of California?
Well, you know, we're at the rivalry weekend. It's going to be an amazing event. We're going to have all of our amazing fans right here, you know, supporting us at that event. So, you know, with the fans behind us, we can do anything. You know, Shock's #1, but we're ready to take him down.
All right, I love it. That's all we got down here. Back to you, Mitch and Matt.
Thank you very much, Mika. And yeah, Custer, fair enough. He's staying pretty safe on the trash talk side of things, and that's fair enough. There's quite a gauntlet for the Valiant to run into. They can, however, we'll talk about later, but they can clinch things even today. But I mean, it's definitely worth talking about our player of the match presented to you by Omen by HP.
This was a tough one.
We went back and fell fourth a little bit, but I have to say from map 1 through map 4, Space again was dominant and a very important inclusion. We saw KSF really step up, especially in the last map. But this guy, that 3K was what really saved map 1.
Yeah.
That was the big one.
Really strong D.Va play, and then I think the Roadhog play in the second half of the series. Especially at the end of Havana, he was able to pick off a few players, a few big whole hogs. I think you get as far as like he gets you Space in terms of like how he plays in the off-tank role. Like I think you look, KSF and Agilities can be up and down in terms of damage dealers performance, very inconsistent. The only person you really, you look at Space and Karib as the two players, game in and game out, that have big games for the Valiant. You needed him to step up in the second half of the series, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, when you can rely on your flex support and your flex tank to be solid, then you're definitely on your way. But looking ahead, I kind of alluded to it a couple moments ago. The Valiant can essentially secure their spots in the playoffs tonight. It won't be by their own power. The Hunters need to lose to the Outlaws in our last game of the day.
And you notice that with that win, the Paris Eternal and the Dallas Fuel, they are eliminated from playoff contention. So for our top 12, we're down to 13. Potentially with the way that the Chengdu Hunters, if they end up losing to the Houston Outlaws tonight, you could have your top 12. It's a big match for Chengdu later as Houston's trying to play spoil.
Now, if that doesn't happen, if the Hunters win, then things get a little bit more complex. So you're going to have to bear with us and stick around as we try and see how it works out. But you can see Agilities definitely, you know, calling on his brothers to try and get the Valiant through. And I'm sure many people in this room would tend to agree.
Yes, Agilities wants the Outlaws to get that win later so they don't have to worry going into next weekend. Like if you're the Valiant, you do not want any of your matches like against the Gladiators or the Shock to be must wins. Like, nope, you're good with that.
Exactly. You want your homestand to be fun, way to celebrate the season and your fans, but it might not be. There might be a little bit of tension in the air there. So yeah, just be ready for that one. We got more fantastic games coming just around the corner here. The Seoul Dynasty take on the Philly Fusion. That's going to be a fun match. It always delivers. Hang around. We'll be back with more Overwatch after these messages.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota, official North American partner of the Overwatch League. Toyota, let's go places.
Did you see the game last night? Sinatra's gonna get MVP this year.
There's no way Sinatra wins MVP.
What are you talking about? Have you been watching the same
Bumper
game?
has been so clutch for the Titans, putting up insane numbers.
I think you're both wrong. Jonak, still the MVP. Also, first match starts in an hour. See you there.
The real MVP is the Yada Chad Amon.